The fork descends. You hear the faint chatter of a party in the background, the clinking of ice in highball glasses, the distant, optimistic melody of a Sinatra record. But here, in this moment, the only sound that matters is the soft, yielding sigh of the frosting giving way. It looks like a promise of sugar, of vanilla, of celebration. The scent hits you first, not sweetness, something else, a cold, savory dampness, the metallic tang of mayonnaise, the faint alien spice of curry powder. Your mind screams cake, but your senses are reporting a disaster. The first bite is an act of social faith, a trust in your hostess. But the texture is a betrayal, a cold, dense, and unnervingly smooth paste, punctuated by the unwelcome crunch of celery. The frosting isn't buttercream. It's a thick, tangy wall of cream cheese and onion powder. It is a lie, a beautiful, perfectly constructed, savory lie, served on your mother's finest china. This wasn't an accident. This was the pinnacle of sophistication. This was the dream. How did the American dinner table become a stage for such magnificent deception? To understand the lie on the plate, you must first understand the fever that gripped the nation that built the kitchen. The story begins not with food, but with a machine, the refrigerator. It was not an appliance, it was an altar, a humming, ice-cold testament to man's victory over nature. Inside its walls, time itself was held captive. Decay was forbidden. Seasons were irrelevant. It was the sterile, white heart of the modern suburban home. And from this altar came a new gospel, the gospel of gelatin. Before this, food was bound by the laws of physics. It wilted, it slumped, it obeyed gravity. The housewife of the atomic age saw this not as nature, but as a failure of will. Her kitchen was a laboratory, and she was its chief scientist, armed with a box of unflavored knocks and a will of iron. Behold the tomato aspic. It wasn't a salad. It was architecture, a shivering crimson tower that defied the very concept of a liquid. It was a monument to refrigeration. To serve a salad that could stand on its own was to announce to your neighbors that your technology was superior, that your control over the elements was absolute. The taste was a secondary concern. It was a sharp, acidic, and profoundly confusing experience. A cold, jiggly tomato soup. But to the guests at the party, its message was clear. In this house, even the laws of nature bend to our will. But this was merely the beginning, the first shot in a long war against the natural order of things. If you could give structure to a liquid, what could you do to a solid? Enter the perfection salad. The name itself is an act of breathtaking hubris. Imagine the thought process. You take the humble, sulfurous crunch of cabbage, the earthy sweetness of a carrot, the mild bitterness of pimento. These are flavors of the soil, honest, grounded. And you decide what they need is to be suspended forever in a prison of shimmering, artificial, lime-flavored sugar. It was a clash of civilizations on a single plate. The sweet, citrus tang of the gelatin against the vegetal funk of the cabbage. It was a flavor combination that defied God, logic, and basic human decency. Why? Because it could be done, because the technology existed. It was a dish born not of hunger, but of ambition. Each slice was a cross-section of progress. It was clean, it was geometric, it was modern, it was food that had been tamed, sterilized, and forced into a shape of our own choosing. You know that feeling, when something is so wrong it becomes hypnotic? That was the essence of the gelatin craze. It was the uncanny valley of cuisine. We had conquered the wobble. But in our quest for perfection, we had created something monstrous, and the monster was hungry for its next victim, meat. By the 1970s, the optimism of the space age had begun to curdle. The dream was showing cracks, and this anxiety manifested on the dinner table. Meat was no longer allowed to look like meat. It was primal, messy, honest. It had to be disguised. It had to be contained. It had to become something else. This is not a pineapple. This is the liver pâté pineapple. The process was a work of culinary witchcraft. You take the most challenging of meats, liverwurst, a food with the color of mud and the texture of despair. You mash it with gelatin and cream cheese, forcing it into a pineapple-shaped mold. You chill it until it is a solid, quivering mass of beige protein. Then, the final act of mimicry. You glaze it in a lurid yellow pineapple juice reduction. You score its flesh, and in a moment of true surrealist genius, you crown it with the actual leaves of a real pineapple. It was a terrifying forgery of nature, a carnivorous fruit. It sat on the buffet table, a monument to the era's deep-seated need to pretend things were something they were not. It was a dish that said, "Nothing is what it seems, not even the fruit." But the masquerade could get so much darker. Some dishes are mistakes, others are crimes. And then there is ham and bananas hollandaise. This was not a fringe experiment. This was a feature in major magazines, a celebrated recipe. It represents the nexus of everything the era held dear. Let us dissect the madness. First, the core components: the salty, cured porkiness of ham, the sweet, creamy, almost cloying flavor of a ripe banana. Two elements that should never, under any circumstances, be introduced. Second, the preparation. You wrap the fruit in the meat, an act of culinary violence. Then you place them in a dish and bake them. The heat breaks down the banana into a hot, sugary mush, its essence steaming into the ham. And finally, the sauce, hollandaise, a sauce of egg yolk, butter, and lemon. But this was the 1970s. It was more likely a packet mix, a pale chemical approximation of the real thing. This thick yellow emulsion was poured over the entire affair, blanketing the ham and bananas in a creamy, acidic shroud. To eat it was to experience a sensory riot, the unholy trinity of salty, mushy, and creamy. It was a dish that assaulted you. It challenged your fundamental understanding of what food was supposed to be. It was the culinary equivalent of a nervous breakdown, a desperate, chaotic attempt to create something new, something exciting, by forcing together ingredients that were never meant to meet. It was the flavor of anxiety itself. But even this was not the final frontier. There was one more level of artifice to achieve. One final way to transform meat from something that was once alive into something that was purely abstract. The meat jelly, or in the chillingly elegant French, aspic. This was the ultimate expression of control. It was the practice of taking the messy, chaotic leftovers of a meal and giving them a new, eternal life. Suspending them in a clear, savory gelatin. The process was meticulous. Each element had to be placed carefully. The chicken arranged just so. The egg slices positioned for maximum visual appeal. It was food as taxidermy. It sat on the table, shimmering and perfect. A cross-section of last night's dinner, frozen in time. It was food that had been stripped of its soul, leaving only its form. It did not invite you to eat it. It dared you. It was a testament to thrift and technology, but it was also a tomb, a beautiful, transparent, edible tomb. While the American kitchen was busy conquering nature, the American living room was trying to conquer the world. But travel was expensive. The world was a big, scary place. So they brought the world home, or rather, a strange, suburban approximation of it. This was the age of tiki fever, a fascination with a non-existent idealized Polynesian culture, and it had its own bizarre cuisine. This is rumaki. On paper, it sounds almost plausible. Chicken livers and water chestnuts, wrapped in bacon, marinated in soy sauce and ginger, and then baked until crisp. But it was a complete fabrication, an American invention designed to give the impression of exotic danger. The chicken liver, a challenging irony flavor. The water chestnut, a strange aquatic crunch. The bacon, the familiar, comforting taste of home. And the soy sauce, the whisper of a faraway land. It was the perfect metaphor for the era's relationship with the rest of the world. It was adventure, packaged and tamed for suburban consumption. The thrill of the exotic, experienced safely in a basement in Ohio, surrounded by plastic leis and ceramic tiki gods. You could travel the world without ever leaving the comfort of your cul-de-sac. The desire for spectacle wasn't limited to fake exoticism. It demanded monuments, centerpieces that would dominate the room and the conversation. The shrimp tree. It was a masterpiece of structural engineering. A pink crustacean Christmas tree. It was a symbol of pure, unadulterated affluence. Shrimp was a luxury. To have enough to build a sculpture out of it was the ultimate power move, but it had a fatal flaw, a secret it kept until the party was well underway. The smell. The faint, oceanic perfume of chilled shrimp slowly, inevitably, turning into the warm, low-tide stench of aging seafood. By the end of the night, the house would be haunted by the ghost of the shrimp tree, a phantom of decay that no amount of air freshener could exorcise. It was a monument to excess, and like all such monuments, it contained the seeds of its own ruin. But of all the strange idols erected on the mid-century buffet table, one stands alone in its sheer, unintentional horror. The candle salad. Let us be clear. This was intended to look like a candle. The pineapple ring was the base. The banana was the wax column. The mayonnaise was the melted wax, and the cherry was the flame. It did not look like a candle. It was a Freudian nightmare served on a lettuce leaf, a dish of such staggering, accidental innuendo that it defies belief. It was presented to guests with a completely straight face. Children were served this at lunch. It represents the absolute zenith of the era's innocence and its blindness. A time when a banana was just a banana, even when it was standing upright in a pineapple ring and tipped with a dollop of creamy white dressing. It is the single most compelling piece of evidence that these people were living in a different reality entirely. So, why? Why did this happen? It wasn't a failure of taste, it was a triumph of a specific philosophy. We were living in the future. We had split the atom. We were going to the moon. We believed that technology was salvation, that science could and should improve everything. Nature was dirty. The soil, the bacteria, the unpredictable seasons. It was the past. The future was clean, sterile, and predictable. Canned food was purer than fresh. Processed cheese was more advanced than artisanal. A frozen dinner was a miracle of modern logistics. The kitchen was the front line of this ideology. Every dish was a testament to this new faith. The geometric perfection of a Jell-O mold was a victory over the chaos of nature. The chemical stability of a processed food was a bulwark against the certainty of decay. They weren't just making dinner. They were building a better world, one shivering, chemically stabilized, unnaturally colored dish at a time. They were industrial optimists. They truly believed that a ham and banana casserole was a step forward for humanity. And then the fever broke. We don't know exactly when it happened, but slowly we remembered. We remembered that fresh food wasn't the enemy. We remembered that food should taste good, not just be structurally ambitious. We remembered what a real pineapple tasted like. The meat jellies and frosted sandwich loaves vanished from our tables. They retreated into the pages of old cookbooks, becoming punchlines, cautionary tales, artifacts of a lost civilization. It's easy to look back and laugh, to see their culinary world as a bizarre theme park of bad taste. But are we really so different? We still worship at the altar of technology. We still dream of conquering nature. We have just changed the language. We talk of biohacking, meal optimization, and food science. We create meat in laboratories and powders that can replace a full meal. We meticulously filter our lives on social media, presenting a perfect curated image of ourselves, a life frosted in a lie of effortless happiness. The frosted sandwich loaf is not dead. It has simply changed its form. It is the protein bar that tastes of chocolate and chalk, promising muscle but delivering a list of ingredients you cannot pronounce. It is the perfect filtered Instagram photo of a life that is messy and complicated behind the scenes. It is our endless belief that with enough technology, with enough processing, we can improve upon reality. We can conquer our own flawed, messy, biological nature. The great lesson of this lost menu is not that their food was strange, it's that their ambition was so profoundly, terrifyingly human. The desire to impose order on chaos, to build monuments to our own cleverness, to serve a dream on a plate, even if the dream itself is a lie. They served those lies not because they were malicious, but because for a brief, shining, terrifying moment in history, they truly, deeply believed in them. And the ghost of that belief still hums in our own kitchens, in the cold, steady heart of the machine.